I always remember being this kid with big dreams. Like, if you asked me back when I was a kid, what did I exactly want to become? You would hear me say something like, I want to become a scientist and a footballer. Like, I want to do both these professions at the same time. Those were my energy levels as a kid. I was just filled with zest for life, filled with desire, filled with ambition. But somewhere during my 20s, that all changed. I realized like I had a laundry list of things that I wanted to do. I wanted to learn how to code. I wanted to have better grades. I wanted to learn how to do jiu-jitsu. I wanted to start my own business. But somehow I just didn't have the drive. I just didn't have that extra burst of energy that I had back then. It was almost like I was constantly sedated. Like I was sleeping 9 to 10 hours a day and still waking up tired. And like by mid-afternoon, I used to have this crash of energy where I was pretty much useless. I couldn't think, neither did I have the motivation to continue tasks after like mid-afternoon. I could literally see my life slipping away from my hand, the decline coming right in front of me. Things that were previously my goals now just turned into far-fetched dreams. You know, one afternoon I had this thought. This thought that I was lying on my deathbed and looking back at my life. And I was just filled with regrets while I was dying. Regrets at the amount of potential that I had that I did not live up to. Regrets at all the things that I did not achieve because of my own doings. And this is when my journey to fix my energy levels actually began. I tried a bunch of supplements, I tried cold showers, I tried fixing my sleep schedule, I tried taking sunlight, you know, all these protocols that exist. And to be honest, they did work, like 5% here, 2% there. But in this video, I'm going to share with you the thing that had the most impact on my energy levels, my motivation, and my drive. But first, let me tell you a quick story. Because I was no longer productive, I started doing hedonistic things. I started doing things that gave me instant pleasure. Like I was hooked to video games, I was hooked to social media, I was hooked to fast food, and one day I had reached the lowest point of my life. In that state of depression and hopelessness, I just decided that I'm not going to eat anything. I'm actually going to go on a fast. I'm just going to detoxify my mind. I'm just going to detoxify my body. So the next day I went without eating the entire day and only had one large meal at night. As soon as I started fasting, the trajectory of my life completely changed. My energy levels went up by 70 to 80%. Like I required lesser sleep. Previously I was sleeping for 9 to 10 hours. Now I just required like 7 hours of sleep and I was just wide awake after that, full of energy. Previously I used to have this energy dip by 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. at max. But now I was like pretty cognitively functional to about 6 p.m. And the best part was that my attention span had increased significantly. I used to have like a bunch of ADHD-like symptoms previously. So my focus lasted about 20 minutes. But now I was able to like focus for 4 hours in a day. 4 hours of deep concentrated work in a day just after like a couple of weeks of fasting. I was like, whoa. It's like I discovered some sort of magic pill or some sort of superpower. Because I didn't know you could live life this way, you could feel this way, this good. For the past 10 years, I'd been feeling shitty, sluggish, tired, and sleep deprived. But I didn't know that this is how you were actually supposed to feel. I felt like I was 16 again. But this absolutely made no sense. Like, why is it that when I'm fasting, when I'm actually deprived of calories, why do I feel more energetic? Like, am I not supposed to feel more tired, more lethargic? And isn't breakfast the most important part of the meal? Like my worldviews were like completely shattered. Prior to this, I was like snacking 6 times a day because this is what people recommended. You need to snack. So I was like, whoa, what is wrong? This shouldn't work. And so I began to research on fasting. Like what the hell is exactly going on in my body when I'm fasting? It turns out that once you do not consume any food for like 12 hours, your body produces something called ketones. And these are like superfood for the brain. It's like 1,000 motivational speakers just flowing all through your body and making you energized. And not just that, your body actually begins to eat itself. Like it gets rid of all the decaying toxic cells so you feel lighter and amazing. And that is responsible for this burst of energy that I was getting. So for the next few months, I just continued fasting and I was growing at an unprecedented rate. Like I was working for 7 hours a day. Like no joke, this is not an exaggeration. I literally used to sit with a stopwatch in my hand and I used to work. I used to like pause the stopwatch when I used to go to take a piss or something. And I was working for like 6 to 7 hours a day, every single day. My productivity went through the roof. All my dreams were beginning to come true. But that's not where the story ends. To be honest, things went fine for the first couple of months, but then I started feeling like I had no energy once again. But this time it was a bit different. This time I actually felt lethargic, like I was nutritionally deprived. And this is because I was just eating one meal a day, and over time I started developing nutritional deficiencies. And my performance in my gym decreased. Like I didn't have a lot of carbs in me, so I couldn't perform as well as I should. Additionally, after a while I started getting cramps and headaches, etc. etc. So after a lot of experiments, I finally came to this conclusion that okay, look, long hard fasting is actually pretty good to kill away all your addictions to instant gratification, to heal your body, to heal your mind, and to give you an initial burst of energy. But this approach is actually kind of unsustainable in the long run. Like you can't be fasting for months and months and months. You are going to have some nutritional deficiencies. So what I decided to do was actually shrink my fasting window. Like prior to this, I was eating just one meal a day, and I used to consume this meal in like 2 hours. So I was literally fasting for like 22 hours of the day. I decided like, okay, this is way too excessive, cannot be sustained. It was good in the initial duration. It cleansed me and gave me this burst of energy, but now I had to like tone it down a bit. Now I'm healed. I just need some maintenance dose of fasting. So I switched to like a 16-8 approach, where I was fasting for 16 hours, and in the 8-hour eating window, I consumed 2 large meals. I've always been this person who experiments with a lot of diets and protocols and comes up to his own conclusions. I did the same thing with intermittent fasting, and intermittent fasting was kind of pretty good. I no longer started feeling that fatigue. That was completely gone. I was more energetic once again, and I received the benefits of fasting to a degree. But the problem was that I was someone who really wanted to perform better in the gym. Like I wanted to put on some size and put on some muscle. And this was simply really hard to do in just 8 hours of eating time. So once again, my experiments continued. I tried more diets. I tried eliminating more things, tried adding more things. And I finally realized that you can achieve 80 to 90% of the benefits of fasting, like the cognitive power, the elevated mood, the motivation, the drive, the energy levels, while also consuming food, like literally eating and not feeling lethargic, by actually skipping out carbs. Carbs is the actual thing that makes you fatigued and tired, especially cognitively. Have you ever felt that carb crash after you had a big lunch, especially filled with rice and other form of carbohydrates? You actually feel like sleeping, like you cannot function after that, even though you just consumed a lot of calories. You actually feel more tired. And it turns out that if you do not consume carbs and actually just consume proteins and fats, you can still feel really, really cognitively sharp without even actually feeling hungry or without even feeling nutritionally deprived. So currently what I do is like early on in the day, I tend to avoid carbs. I just have proteins and fats. So this way I get the benefits of fasting. Like I'm focused on my task and I can work and I'm full of energy. And later on in the day, once I'm done with all my work, like around 6 p.m. or something, I introduce carbs into my system. Like for dinner, I'll have a meal which is filled with clean carbs, not processed garbage. Carbs in the form of banana, fruits, a bit of white rice, but nothing too processed. And this way I get the best of both worlds. I get the cognitive effects of fasting without actually fasting. And I also get the satiating effect of carbohydrates, like because carbs put you in a relaxed state and they put you in a deep, good sleep. And here's another cool thing that I discovered while conducting my experiments. I realized that when you have carbs like rice, grain, pasta, etc., the carb crash is a lot more severe. But when you have carbs in cleaner forms like fruits, honey, dates, then the carb crash isn't so bad. So if there's anything that you should take away from this video is that you are what you eat. If you're consuming processed garbage, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to feel tired all day. And if you're on a really high processed carb diet, then you're probably going to feel lethargic the entire time. So I just want you to experiment with this. Try some amount of intermittent fasting. Try some amount of ketogenic dieting. And if you feel significant boosts in your energy levels, then it's probably your diet. That is probably the reason why you're constantly lethargic. And just having coffee and delaying the crash is not the solution. The solution is fixing the foundation. The solution is fixing your diet.
For those of you who are new here, my name is Jibreal Khan. I help men become the most productive versions of themselves and get rid of all their addictions to instant gratification. If you would like to have a one-on-one meeting with me, then check out the link in the description.